Are you detached and aloof but seeking connection? Are you distracted, doing mindless action that doesn't require a connection? This is part of a 14-part video series that explores how trauma, stress, and anxiety play a pivotal role in health recovery. Hi there, I'm Dr. Chanu Dasari. I'm a surgeon who specializes in reversing gut microbiome dysfunction and autoimmune inflammation. My technique for reversing symptoms in as little as 6 weeks has helped thousands of patients over the years and is called the Mind-Gut Immunity Method. And if you'd like to learn more, visit mgiclinic.com and request a discovery call. Now, many of you know my personal story. In my early 20s, I struggled with autoimmune disease and digestive dysfunction. And I was able to fix inflammation naturally using the same methods that I now use in my patients. But even after all these years, after my recovery from autoimmune disease and digestive dysfunction, I've still struggled with the anxiety and frustration. Why was I so sick? Why did I ignore the early signs? Why did I let stress take over? And more importantly, why did I deprioritize myself in these situations? These lingering questions were important ones for me to answer because they were at the heart of why I became sick in the first place. After working with thousands of patients over the years, I can tell you that the themes of trauma, stress, and anxiety keep popping up. So in the Mind-Gut Immunity Clinic, we've enlisted the help of a personal development coach to help create awareness for my clients to understand how anxiety, stress, and trauma play a pivotal role in autoimmune inflammation and digestive dysfunction. It's a mini personal development workshop, if you will, within the Mind-Gut Immunity Clinic that creates awareness around illness. Our clients work one-on-one with our coach, Virginia, who you'll see here today, to integrate new awareness and thought processes into recovery. I can tell you from personally working with Virginia over the years that this is a much needed addition to the Mind-Gut Immunity Academy. And from the positive feedback I've received from my patients, I know that this is something that can help others in their healing journeys. In this video, we'll be exploring different attachment styles, from detached to distracted, and how our need for connection should be paramount. Why is a person's attachment style important?
That is how we navigate our relationships with other people. That is how we establish within ourselves, is it safe to be me? Do I need to check out in this moment because it's uncomfortable? I mean, secure attachment style is really a root necessity in learning how to do that.
Can you be securely attached but still detached?
I mean, it depends on the circumstance. You can be securely attached within yourself and engage with someone else who's detached, or have to detach because their style doesn't match yours.
Because men
in general
love to be aloof.
Yeah.
Myself included. Like, someone could be saying something to me and I'll just be like, okay.
So do you love to be aloof or do you love to be safe? And do you only participate in aloof behavior with people that are unsafe for you?
No, aloofness is like a universal kind of a thing. It's not selective aloofness necessarily, right? Or maybe it is.
Is it a choice to be aloof or not to be aloof?
Oh, for sure, right? Like if I'm watching the TV or I'm scrolling TikTok, it's mindless. You feel yourself with I've now created a situation where aloofness is the default.
Right. And do you ever stop in that moment to ask why?
No.
Okay, so when we're on automatic pilot, this is what we do. Right now we're being aloof because we learned as an infant when there's something going on I don't want to deal with, we detach.
You detach.
Because you can't move. You're an infant, where are you going?
You don't want to deal with it.
You don't want to deal with it. So I'm not so sure aloofness is necessarily, your go-to style. It may be, but you have to ask yourself, was I conditioned that way or do I really enjoy being aloof?
Yeah, so I guess that's valid, right? The valid question there is why are you aloof?
Right.
Right, why am I aloof, right?
And that can be in any moment. There's not one static answer. You may be aloof right now and later you're not, but when you're doing it and you're aware and catch yourself, we can then recreate a behavior.
In the trauma literature, this is actually studied quite in depth, right? Like a lot of people say that when you have this detachment, right? And this can be detachment from basic needs.
Yes.
I'm hungry.
Yes.
I need rest. I need to go use the restroom. I need whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
You know, like, and whenever there's this detachment, it comes from a place potentially of trauma or some really severe life challenge.
Or not. Maybe you had a wet diaper, the parent didn't notice, you cried, it didn't get answered, so you learned to detach yourself because you were uncomfortable, and then that became a behavior.
So okay, so I should restate that. It's an adaptation.
Yes, that's the perfect word.
To some type of negative emotional state.
And
so you had a negative emotional state
Yes.
once upon a time as a child.
Correct.
And you had to adapt because
right.
there was no way to fix that negative emotional state.
In that moment, you couldn't.
So instead of fixing it, you have now
Adapted.
turned off the volume.
Right.
And turn your attention to other things, right?
Yes.
And this is what the detached style is, right?
It can be, yeah.
I mean, we see it in, like, I used to train the, the pararescue guys, like the special forces of the Air Force, doing trauma resuscitation at the university. And these guys could, like, do all this crazy stressful stuff and just not even think about it. They're all like, they're closing bleeding arteries.
Yeah,
they're like,
that's a skill.
resuscitating people, and they're not thinking about, like, the suffering and the emotional trauma in front of them.
Right.
Even when I am operating, right, I'm exposed to blood. I'm
Right.
inside a body. I'm like, you don't see surgeons constantly thinking about, oh my God, is the patient, like, suffering, right? We're just, like, detached.
You're focused on the job at hand.
Yeah, but that requires a level of detachment, right?
It does.
Right? And even in my life, when I'm, like, operating, I'm not thinking about what I'm eating.
Right.
I'm not thinking about if I have to use the restroom. I'm not thinking about any of that. I'm not,
You can't afford to in that
No.
moment. There's life at stake right there.
But so the reason I bring that up is this is certainly a asset in certain situations, like people that are really that are hyper successful,
Yes.
or they do jobs that other people can't do. It requires a level of detachment,
Yes.
right? But if you look at all these individuals as kids, or like you
Yeah.
go backwards in time, nearly all of them had some type of stressful event that required a resiliency adaptation.
Yes.
And after a certain time, those adaptations become maladaptive, right?
Right.
Because, like, if you look at personal relationships, right, being detached is not a good thing.
Not if you want to be in a relationship with another person.
Right. That's fulfilling and something you can enjoy.
And not even a love relationship, let's just
Sure.
say. It's an interaction with another.
Any primary relationship, right?
Right.
And not necessarily romantic, but it becomes maladaptive, right? And it's not something that we should cheer on. It's also not something that we should embrace. And
it may be something you don't even know you're doing. So that's
absolutely. And this detachment is not just relationships.
No.
It's even detachment from personal needs, right? So, like, if you're detached from your relationships, are you detached from your own, like, what are your own needs that you're not?
You can detach from your own signals your body's giving you because you're just so unconscious.
We see that all the time.
All the time.
Literally every single person we work with.
Yep.
The mind and the body, there seems to be some disconnect. And it can happen, and there's, obviously it's like a spectrum, right? Like, there's some people that are like, oh, I know something's wrong. There's some people that are like, holy shit, they've been sick for years and years and years, and then they finally realize there's something wrong, like when everything's too late.
Because they learned tolerance, maybe. They learned how to tough it out, be tough. And then that one behavior that helped them then is now not useful any longer.
Yeah. Some people, I would say, so from my end of things, from the medical side of things, we always want, when we're working with people with autoimmune disease, digestive dysfunction, we like to track symptoms. We like to track progress. We like to have objective measures of seeing people get better over time. It's how we assess progress in the program. It's how we determine, hey, it's why I can say, I know if you do the program, you'll get a 50 to 80% resolution of your symptoms within a couple weeks. I can see that every time, but it's because I'm in the beginning of these intake assessments, I'm forcing people to tell me all of these things, and sometimes I'm like pulling it out of them, right? I'm forcing them to tell me about these symptoms that they're not even conscious of or think about, right? Like I can't tell you the number of people that come to me and they have, like, either inflammatory bowel or they have, like, an autoimmune disease, right? And then I ask them about other questions.
Yeah.
Right?
Interesting, right?
I'm like, are you fatigued? Oh yeah. Do you have brain fog? Oh yeah. Joint pain? Oh yeah. Well, what about dry eye? Oh yeah. You know, and
So many.
so there's all these so people are not even, I mean, they're not even aware of what
How
their
out of
the
sync
signal
their mind
and
is
the
with
body.
their body. They're not.
And I guarantee they're doing this in other aspects of their life. It's
Yes.
not. It's sort of this detached feeling. Is you don't know your own needs. You don't even know your own emotional states.
It's not because they don't want to.
No.
They're just not aware, and that's why we put together this program, Mind Gut Immunity, so
Right.
that we can help you be aware of those things for yourself that you can't see.
And we create these awareness exercises.
Yes,
Right. So
that's a big part.
yeah, I think that's just been something.
It's mind-boggling when the light bulb does go off and their mind does become aware. Then they get better in sync with their body. How it works together so well once you make that connection.
They can heal their body.
They can heal themselves.
Yeah, they don't need all these prescription medication. They can will their body to be healthier. They can
Through
do
awareness, yes. They
Yeah.
can literally become aware what their body needs. And we were just talking about this, and it sounds so simple. When you have to go to the bathroom, go. Some people don't.
Yes.
They feel like they have to go to the bathroom and then they wait 3 hours because there's something more pressing when their body said, I have to go.
Yeah, or you're like me. Like I wouldn't go to the bathroom for 12 hours sometimes.
Exactly.
when
And
I've been
obviously,
out
if
for
you're
a
in
day.
surgery, you're not going to say, hey, wait a minute.
Well, no, you can. You just go. Use the
Oh,
restroom
okay,
and come
well,
back. I mean,
there you go.
it's just anesthesia at the end of the day, right?
I mean,
But
so that's one tool. When you have to go to the bathroom, go. You know, that's your mind and your body being in sync. I had a thought, I have to go.
Yeah.
Because your body told you that. And so listening.
Yeah, it is listening, and it's being aware, and it's being okay, like sort of asking yourself, like if you were to, once you start creating awareness around these
Yes.
things, the default of being aloof and the default of just being detached,
It can be shifted
it can be shifted
by choice.
very fast even.
Very fast and by choice. And maybe there'll come a time when you need to be aloof, and that's okay too, because you're a flexible human being. But the awareness is key. So you're making a choice to be aloof, not
That way when I'm scrolling through my phone
Right.
mindlessly,
mindlessly.
at least I know I'm doing
At
it.
least you know you're doing it and why you're
mindlessly.
doing it. And so you can, it's all about choice
Yeah.
and autonomy. At least if you're going to be aloof, do it by choice, not off default.
Yeah, and like don't let it affect really important parts of your life, like your health or
Yes.
your personal relationships. You know,
Yeah.
you need to know when there's some people that believe, and I'm probably in this camp now, that believe in that inflammation, digestive dysfunction, autoimmune disease is simply your body's signal to your mind to basically tell it, stop assaulting my soul.
Right.
Okay?
Yes.
Like your mind does a bunch of stuff to basically feel like it's all this stuff that maybe you don't
Yeah.
even want to do.
Yeah.
Right? And it's constantly focused on all these other things, and it's detached from all the other things that could potentially matter.
Yep.
And little things, right? Like you have a little bit of inflammation here, a little bit of inflammation here, a little bit of gut microbiome dysfunction leads to, you know, autoimmune, and then the symptoms pile on, and then by the
Yeah.
time you get autoimmune disease, it's usually like all this.
You've been ignoring your soul for a long time
For a long
when
time.
that happens. And it's interesting, the soul or the ego, right? So when your body is coming internally telling you what it wants, and then your mind can step in and say, no, you don't. This is what we want to do because it's safer, because I have to. And then you totally go against yourself.
Yeah, you go against yourself,
And then your body reacts.
and your body is telling your mind, you are assaulting me.
And you ignored it.
You're ignoring me, and now you cannot ignore it.
It will just, it's a whisper,
It's
and then
so
it's
bad,
a scream.
right?
And then
This-
once it gets to a scream, it's like, okay, you didn't listen, so here we are.
Yeah,
But
it's
it does
true.
start here.
It's very true. I see that all the time.
Going in depth on topics such as these allow us to achieve uncommon healing. We already do a good job at solving gut microbiome dysfunction at the root of inflammation, and we make strides in trying to unwind the perspectives and behaviors that create illness in the first place. And that's how we achieve a lasting recovery. Now remember, we've got 13 other videos on similar topics, so if you found this conversation useful, be sure to check out the other videos. Also share these videos with someone you know who's struggling with a health condition and doesn't know where to start. Sometimes just starting the discussion with them can help them change their perspective on illness. Lastly, don't forget to like and subscribe. And as always, I'm Dr. Chanu Dasari with the Mind Gut Immunity Clinic, and I'll see you next time.